Hey everyone, my name is Kim Muench, and I'm so excited to be presenting to you today, Becoming Me While Raising You. Let me just share my screen quick and we'll get going. Okay. So I want to thank Maria Fleener for inviting me to come and speak with the group this morning. And the title of my presentation is Becoming Me While Raising You, How to Evolve Yourself Through Parenthood. I'm going to talk with you today about emotional needs, limiting beliefs, and the work of motherhood, at least from my perspective. And I'll go into who I am and kind of how I got involved in this work in a minute. But I want to tell you that I'm going to do a very high level overview of these three topics today. I think we can go a lot more in depth, but I want to keep the video itself to a short period of time because I know busy moms don't have a whole lot of time to, digest long videos. So we're going to go from high overview. So my name is Kim Muench, as I said, and I'm a married mother of 5 kids between the ages of 16 and 33 years old at this point. My oldest and youngest are 17 years apart. So I have spent years in teenagerhood and 20 years to be exact, and also a lot of years of trying to juggle a lot of different ages and stages in child development. I was a teen mom, so I became a mom for the first time at the age of 18. And really what brought me to this calling of parent coaching is my eldest son, Nick, who around the age of 20 fell into an addiction to alcohol. So it was during the journey of trying to help him find long-term sobriety that I looked at my own parenting, that I looked at the way I had been parented. And I really have kind of formulated this thought and idea that I'm going to present to you today about what the journey of motherhood is and what we can really gain from evolving ourselves through the greatest job that I know that we have, and that is being a parent. So I'm on a mission to evolve the way that we parent our kids to one of with rather than over them. And I write, speak, and do all I can to bring awareness to conscious parenting. Okay, let's start with the topic of limiting beliefs. What did we take on in our childhood? And we all did. All of us don't have the same limiting beliefs, but there are things that we took on unconsciously in our childhood that get triggered during our parenting years. And it gets triggered by our kids, it can get triggered by our spouse, it can get triggered by our own parents. People that are closest in our life generally are the ones that trigger us most. Does that make sense? So let's define limiting beliefs. A limiting belief is something that we take on about ourselves, that we believe about ourselves, that is usually unconsciously gotten in childhood. It can have an influence on who we believe we are, what our relationships look like, and is often not true. And when we stop to think about it, we can really shift and evolve to a different belief about ourselves. It's not easy. There's no easy magic button. I'm going to give you an example, which is actually the first chapter from a book that I've got coming out called Becoming Me While Raising You, A Mother's Journey to Herself. And the story is this. When I was 6 years old, I have 2 brothers. And when I was 6, my younger brothers were 4 and 2. And it was a beautiful Wisconsin summer evening. And I loved to swing on the swings. And so did my little brother. So it was after dinner and my mom had run an errand and my dad was in charge of us. And he was talking with a neighbor. And our backyards were very small, and we had fences between them, but it wasn't really it was a fence that you could see through. So anyway, I decided to ask my brother if he wanted to go over to the swings at my neighbor's house, and my littlest brother toddled along with us. And so Paul and I decided to have a swing, like a contest to see who could go the highest on the swing. My little brother was next to us playing in the sandbox and was happy. So here's my brother Paul and I swinging, 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 happily enjoying the summer evening. And all of a sudden, my youngest brother decided that he wanted to swing as well. And I could see him coming toward us. And I was going very high. And I could see that it was going to be, it was going to be a real problem. But I couldn't stop fast enough. So I yelled out to my little brother, stop, stop. But he didn't. He was 2 and he couldn't see, what was coming, though I could. I tried to stop, tried to drag my feet, but I ended up pummeling right into him. And not only did I pummel him once, I pummeled him on the way back down as well. And I can remember how sick I felt inside and how the swing vibrated as I hit him, and just feeling horrible because I loved my little brother. And his screaming, of course, brought my dad running and wanting to comfort him. My brother Paul and I knew at that point our fun summer night was like over. So bottom line, I was trying to explain to my dad while he was trying to comfort my brother what happened and why it happened. And my dad basically turned to me and said, go to your room. We're not talking now. I don't even think he said, we're not talking now. He just said, go to your room. And it was pretty much understood. We're done. You're not going to talk to dad right now. He's obviously busy trying to, take care of younger brother. So I went to my room and I was crying because I didn't know how hard or how much I had hurt my brother, how he might be hurt. And I just felt terrible about the whole situation. So a little while later, my mom came home and kind of took over my brother and his care. And then my dad came upstairs and put my younger brother to bed and then came into my room. And I remember him coming in and me really I was crying and wanting to explain to him again my side of what had happened because I wasn't sure what he had seen. And anyway, what he told me was, as I was trying to tell him, was it didn't matter. I'm the big sister. I should know better. And it was in that moment that I took on the belief that what I had to say didn't matter. And as an adult, as a parent of 5 myself, I can see the situation as so benign, right? This is something that happened. In part, maybe my dad had felt like he should have been paying more attention. He was upset with himself and maybe projected that onto me. But I ultimately know that this is a situation that could happen in any parent, any family, any parenting. However, as a young child, what I took away from this was, again, in trying to explain to him what had gone on, he didn't want to hear it. And so I took on the idea that I wasn't, that what I had to say wasn't worth hearing. So that is an example. And I lived with that for years, many years, and it played out in many of my relationships. I often didn't use my voice or didn't feel like I had anything to offer people. So that's an example from my own life of what a limiting belief looks like. Transfer that into parenting. Okay, when our kids come along and they maybe aren't behaving or aren't listening, some of the talk parenting triggers, like I say here, are whining and crying. Those are one of the things that really get under parents' skin. Not listening or obeying, intentionally disobeying, hearing the words from your child, I hate you. Physical abuse, when a child might bite you or hit you, that is incredibly triggering for a parent. And then if you have more than one child, siblings fighting can be very triggering to a parent. So what happens is we on the surface level, we are frustrated, we are angry, we might be stressed and tired and bringing other things to our parenting relationship with our kids. But underneath that, there typically is a belief about ourselves. When we feel disrespected, we feel not heard, right? And when my kids would not listen to me, or their father would come in and my husband would come in and would be able to get them to immediately respond, and it took me 10 times asking them to be able to do it, I felt disrespected. I felt unheard. So in part, our kids' behaviors, we need to get curious about them. We need to really get curious about why they're behaving the way that they are. And that leads me into the next topic that I want to talk about, and that is emotional needs. All of us, what do we need as human beings emotionally to be able to function and thrive? We have 6 emotional needs, and we use our behavior, whether we're 2 or 12 or 22, or in my case, 52 years old, to get our emotional needs met. Okay. And our emotional needs include these 6 things: acceptance, affection, appreciation, attention, autonomy, and connection. So when your child is misbehaving in some way, being disrespectful, slamming doors, rolling eyes if they're a teenager, and goodness knows I've seen that over the years, what it's important for you to do is to look at and get curious about, what is this behavior saying to me? What am I supposed to learn from this? Because it's really important that we pause and respond to our kids and their behavior, getting curious about why they're behaving the way they are, rather than just react to them. Reaction causes anger, causes disconnection. Parenting from a place of fear and anger and stress causes disconnection with our children. And if there's one thing we've learned over the last year, it's how important it is to be able to create and hold strong connections that are healthy and functional with our kids, no matter what their age. There's nothing more important than that. So, and I got off track. I can't believe I got off track. So our emotional needs, getting curious about why your children are behaving the way that they do, is really important. Okay, I want to share with you, and again, this is a very high overview of what I believe and what I have learned in parenting 5 children and in working and coaching other mothers through their challenges. And that is, the work of motherhood is this: 1, to gain awareness about, when I'm triggered, how does that feel inside of me? What's going on for me? Maybe it's work stress or traffic or financial issues or whatever. That is a surface issue. Generally, there are other things going on beneath the surface. So coming to awareness over time about, why do I keep getting intense, stressful situations with this kid? Okay, this kid isn't, the kid isn't listening. He's always been a difficult child, that kind of thing. But I want you to look at, our children are our mirrors, and they best show us where we need to grow. So gaining awareness about when you're triggered, how does it feel inside your body, so that you can learn to circumvent that feeling and be able to respond instead of react to your child. The second step is to identify, to get curious. What is below that feeling that I'm feeling? When I get triggered, when I know that I'm really in a space with my child that is not going to go well, what is it that I'm believing about myself in the situation? So taking some time to journal, to really put into practice these stressful situations, say to myself, what's really going on here? How does it feel in my body? And what is the deeper belief that I've taken on about myself? Is it that I'm not a confident parent? Is it that there's something terribly wrong with my child? What is it that I'm believing here, and why is that? And then the third step, of course, is to question. Like I did at one point, to go back to my story, there was a point at which, during my parenting, that I realized feeling disrespected wasn't, first of all, it wasn't helping the relationship I was having with my kids, but also what was beneath that. And what was beneath that was this belief that I'm not worthy of being heard. Okay, so is that true? Of course, that's not true. And I didn't get to these places. I don't mean to make this sound like it's a 5-minute ordeal, right? Like we go from awareness to identify to question to then reframe, just like that in 2 minutes' time. With practice, I think you can get there. And I think that I have gotten there over time. This doesn't have to take decades of work either. But the process is this: to become more aware, to then identify, to then question this belief that I've taken on about myself. Is it true? If not, what is true? And for me, in my situation, it was that of course I am worthy of being heard. Of course, what I have to say matters. Of course, my voice is important. So it took some time and some energy to get to this place, to reframe it to that of I am worthy of being heard. I am worthy of breathing wisdom into the lives of other people, which is what I hope to be doing with you this morning as well. So these are the 4 things that I work with moms on to really get them to a space of where they're parenting more confidently because of the beliefs that they have about themselves are truer to who they really are. In summary, we all take on some false beliefs about ourselves in childhood, and that's not to throw our parents under the bus. Even the most emotionally woke parents have moments and days. I know that I have, and I'm sure you have, where we've been stressed, we've been not emotionally attuned to ourselves, we've been disconnected to ourselves. And so therefore we're disconnected from what our children are feeling and doing, and maybe why they're behaving the way they are. The opportunity of motherhood is to be able to look back, to move forward with beliefs that better serve the relationship you're having with yourself and with those that you love the most. So I think that motherhood, I think we can all agree that motherhood is a lot about sacrifice, but it's also about our children being our greatest teachers and mirroring to us where we need to look within to grow up in order to allow them to be who they're meant to be. That makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So I would just want to say thank you to Maria, who invited me into the group today to give this talk to you on a high-level overview of limiting beliefs and emotional needs and the work of motherhood. My name again is Kim Muench, and I'm a certified parent coach and the founder of Real Life Parent Guide. You can see me much more about me and my work on my website, which is reallifeparentguide.com. And I just want to let you know that today's overview of these topics is what I share in my upcoming book. It's available this summer, called Becoming Me While Raising You, A Mother's Journey to Herself. I want to thank you for paying attention today. And if you comment below, I am happy to connect with you. Thank you so much. Namaste.